960 older adults, tracked for an average of 4.5 years. Their diets recorded, their memory tested, their brains studied. A 2015 study published in the journal Alzheimer's and Dementia found that the adults who followed one specific eating pattern had brains that functioned as if they were 7.5 years younger. 7.5 years. You feel this gap as the word that won't come at dinner, as the name that slips away mid-sentence. The researchers gave that eating pattern a name, the mind diet, and 5 foods sit at the center of it. You've probably been told that memory loss is just part of getting older, that it's something to accept. The research tells a different story. Here's what actually happens. After 60, the brain becomes more vulnerable in 3 specific ways. Inflammation rises in the blood vessels that feed it. Oxidative stress damages cells faster than the body repairs them, and the brain's ability to clear out harmful proteins slows down. You don't feel these changes directly, you feel the result. That afternoon hour when nothing quite connects, reaching for a word and finding only the shape of it, walking into a room and standing there, wondering why. Research shows this experience is incredibly common after 60, and most people never talk about it. But here is what very few people have been told. Every single meal either fights those 3 processes or feeds them. Your fork is making a decision about your brain 3 times a day. So today, we're going to walk through the 5 foods that sit at the heart of the mind diet, the eating pattern researchers built specifically for the aging brain. For each one, you'll learn what it does, how it does it, and exactly how much the studies actually used. No miracle claims, no magic, just what the peer-reviewed evidence shows and what you can put on your plate this week. By the end, you'll understand why these 5, and not the supplements lining pharmacy shelves, are what the science keeps pointing to. The first food is the one the mind diet research singles out above all others: leafy green vegetables. When researchers at Rush University Medical Center analyzed their 2018 data, published in the journal Neurology, they found something striking. Among nearly 1,000 older adults, those who ate roughly 1 serving of leafy greens a day showed cognitive performance equivalent to being 11 years younger than those who rarely ate them. 11 years from 1 daily serving. Here's why this works. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, collard greens, romaine lettuce, are dense in 4 specific compounds: vitamin K, lutein, folate, and beta-carotene. Each one plays a role in protecting the aging brain. Vitamin K supports the structure of brain cell membranes. Lutein actually accumulates in brain tissue, and higher lutein levels are linked to better memory in older adults. Folate helps regulate homocysteine, an amino acid that, when elevated, is associated with faster cognitive decline, and beta-carotene works as an antioxidant, reducing the oxidative stress we talked about earlier. Think of it this way. The damage to an aging brain happens slowly, quietly, like rust forming on metal you can't see. Leafy greens are one of the most concentrated sources of the compounds that slow that rusting down. Now the practical part. The research pattern is about 1 serving a day. That's roughly 1 cup of raw greens or half a cup cooked. It does not need to be dramatic. A handful of spinach folded into eggs in the morning, a side salad with lunch, kale stirred into a soup. One important note. If you take a blood-thinning medication like warfarin, Leafy greens are high in vitamin K, which affects how that medication works. This does not mean avoiding greens, and it means keeping your intake consistent rather than eating large amounts one week and none the next. Your pharmacist can help you find the right steady level. That conversation takes under a minute. That's the foundation. But the second food is the one with the most dramatic single study result of all 5. The second food is berries, and specifically blueberries. Of all the fruits studied for brain health, berries stand alone in the mind diet research. While most fruit didn't show a strong cognitive link, berries did strongly enough that they earned their own category. A 2012 study from Harvard, published in the Annals of Neurology, followed more than 16,000 older women over several years. Those who ate the most berries showed a slowing of cognitive decline that the researchers estimated at up to 2.5 years. What makes berries different comes down to one family of compounds, anthocyanins. These are the pigments that give blueberries their deep blue color, and they are powerful antioxidants. Anthocyanins do 2 things that matter for the aging brain. First, they cross the blood-brain barrier, meaning they actually reach brain tissue, which many compounds cannot. Second, once there, they reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in the regions tied to memory and learning. There's also evidence that anthocyanins support communication between brain cells. They appear to help the signaling pathways that neurons use to talk to each other, the very pathways that grow slower and less reliable with age. Picture what's happening when you forget a word mid-sentence. 2 neurons are reaching for a connection, and the signal arrives just a little too weak, a little too slow. The research suggests anthocyanins help strengthen exactly that kind of signaling. The practical amount. The Mind Diet research points to about 2 servings of berries per week as the threshold where benefits appear. 2 servings, that's not daily, it's twice a week. A half cup of blueberries is 1 serving. Fresh or frozen, both work. Frozen berries retain their anthocyanins well, and they're often more affordable. A handful of blueberries with breakfast, twice a week. That's the entire protocol. Write that down. The third food is the one researchers were most surprised by because of how small the amount needed to be. The third food is nuts, and walnuts in particular. Nuts are one of the Mind Diet's core categories, and walnuts stand out for a specific reason. They are one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. This matters because omega-3 fatty acids are structural. They are physically built into the membranes of brain cells. A brain that's well supplied with omega-3s has cell membranes that are more flexible, and flexible membranes communicate more efficiently. In 2020, researchers published the results of the walnuts and healthy aging study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. It followed older adults over 2 years. The findings were measured and honest. Walnuts didn't reverse aging or work miracles, but in participants who started with more risk factors, the walnut group showed slower cognitive decline than the group that ate none. Here's what makes walnuts compelling. Beyond the omega-3s, they contain polyphenols and vitamin E, both of which fight the oxidative stress that damages brain cells. It's a combination. The omega-3s build better cell structure, and the antioxidants protect that structure once it's built. The amount surprised researchers because it was so modest. The studies point to roughly a small handful a day, About a quarter cup or 7 to 10 walnut halves. Not a bowl, a small handful. There's a simple way to make this automatic. Keep a sealed jar of walnuts where you already reach every day, next to the coffee beside the kettle. A small handful with breakfast or mid-afternoon when energy dips. No preparation, no cooking, no expense beyond the nuts themselves. So far, leafy greens, berries, walnuts. 3 foods, 3 different mechanisms, all pointing the same direction. The 4th food is the one with the longest research history of all. Decades of data stand behind it. The 4th food is fish, specifically the oily cold water fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, and trout. If walnuts give you plant-based omega-3s, oily fish gives you the marine forms, DHA and EPA, and DHA in particular is critical because it is the single most abundant omega-3 fatty acid in the human brain. Your brain is quite literally partly built from it. The research here goes back decades. A 2016 study published in JAMA examined the brains of older adults and found that those who regularly ate fish showed less of the protein buildup associated with Alzheimer's disease. A separate body of research has linked regular fish consumption to better preservation of gray matter, the brain tissue where information is processed. Here's the mechanism. DHA does 3 things. It maintains the structure of brain cell membranes. It supports the connections between neurons, and it has a direct anti-inflammatory effect in brain tissue, calming the chronic low-level inflammation that stiffens and damages an aging brain. Now, an honest word about the evidence. Fish consumption studies are observational. They follow what people eat over time. They show a strong, consistent association, but the strongest results come from eating fish itself, not from fish oil capsules. The whole food appears to matter. So this is about food on a plate, not a supplement in a bottle. The Mind Diet research points to at least 1 serving of fish per week. 1 serving is about 3 to 4 ounces, roughly the size of a deck of cards. Once a week is the threshold. Twice is better if you enjoy it. If fresh fish feels expensive or inconvenient, canned works. Canned salmon and canned sardines retain their omega-3s fully, and they cost very little. Sardines on toast, canned salmon folded into a salad. Simple, affordable, and exactly what the research supports. Now the 5th one, I saved it for the end because of something specific the research showed about how it works with everything else. The 5th food isn't something you eat on its own, it's what you cook with. Extra virgin olive oil. In the Mind Diet, olive oil is named as the primary fat, not as a side note, as a foundation, and there's a reason it was placed last in this video. Extra virgin olive oil is rich in a compound called oleocanthal, a natural anti-inflammatory. It also contains polyphenols and healthy monounsaturated fats that support blood vessel function. And healthy blood vessels mean steady blood flow to the brain. But here's what makes it the 5th food rather than just another item. Olive oil helps your body absorb the benefits of the other 4. Lutein from leafy greens, beta-carotene, vitamin E from walnuts. These are fat-soluble. They need fat present to be absorbed properly. Drizzle olive oil over your greens, and you absorb more of what makes those greens protective. The practical part. Use extra virgin olive oil as your main cooking and dressing fat. In place of refined oils, a drizzle over vegetables in dressings for light cooking. The research pattern is simply making it your default. Let's bring this together, because I don't want you to leave with a list you'll forget by tomorrow. Leafy greens, berries, walnuts, oily fish, olive oil, 5 foods at the heart of the mind diet. And here is what genuinely connects them. Every single one works through the same 2 mechanisms: reducing inflammation and fighting oxidative stress. The 2 processes that, left unchecked, quietly age the brain. 5 different foods, 5 different doors, the same room behind every one of them. That's why the mind diet research holds up the way it does. It was never about one miracle food. It was about a pattern, a way of eating where each food reinforces the others. The greens and the olive oil, the walnuts and the fish, they are not 5 separate tips. They are one system. And the studies show something hopeful about timing. The Rush University researchers found that even people who adopted this pattern later in life, in their 70s, in their 80s, still showed measurable benefit. The brain remains responsive. It does not stop listening to what you feed it. So here's what I want you to do. And it's not all 5 at once. Pick one, just one that feels easiest for this week. Maybe it's a handful of walnuts by the coffee. Maybe it's switching the oil in your kitchen. Maybe it's blueberries in the freezer for 2 breakfasts. Sustainable change doesn't come from overhauling everything on a Monday and burning out by Friday. It comes from one small choice, repeated until it becomes invisible, until it's simply the way you eat. You've been told that what's happening to your memory is just age, just decline, just something to accept. The research disagrees. Your brain is remarkably responsive, and the evidence is clear. It is never too late to give it better tools. The research holds the data. You hold the fork. So tell me in the comments, which of these 5 will you start with this week? I read every one. If this helped you, share it with someone who'd want to know, and subscribe for more evidence-based videos on protecting the aging brain. Next, we're looking at what chronic stress does to memory after 60. This channel translates peer-reviewed research into educational content. The voiceover is AI-generated. Full sources and disclaimers are in the description.